All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of My Third Eye. Today, I have the great honor to have the man, the myth, the legend, Tommy Chong, one half of Cheech and Chong. So, how are you, my friend?
I am so well, I'm a little embarrassed.
You shouldn't be embarrassed.
Yeah, well, when you're as happy as I get, there's a sadness waiting there because you think, will I ever be this happy again? And if not, why?
I think happiness is
uh,
eternal.
well, it is if you allow it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's all about allowing. We're in charge.
Yes, sir.
We're in charge, and yeah, I had a conversation with a friend of mine last night, and he had been in Synanon. Do you know what Synanon was?
No, I
It was
don't.
like a drug rehab kind of thing back in the '60s,
Okay.
and he was actually raised. It was kind of like cultish, very cultish, but they're very third world, or yeah, third world, or like my third eye kind of
Okay.
thing, and he well, we talked, and I've been having epiphanies left and right lately, and especially with all what's going on in the war and everything. And he was telling me, you know, all the rituals that you have to do in order to transcendental meditation.
Hmm.
That trip. And I was trying to explain to him that happiness is only a thought away.
Yes.
That's all it is. And yeah, you can do all those rituals, and a lot of people need to do it. Like a lot of people need to go to the gym and work out, and that's the way it is with life. But you evolve to a point where you can just do everything with a thought,
Hmm.
if you got the right thought.
Exactly.
And if you and that's what he said. Well, yeah, that's what I found when I meditate. It takes me a long time, but when I get there, it's so beautiful and everything else. And I kind of had to stop myself, because I realized that when you evolve and when you get older, there's not too many people to relate to that.
Right.
you know and so one of the greatest uh, uh, what do you call it, skills that I'm now requiring is the skill of keeping my mouth shut.
That's a hard one to learn because I'm going down that path myself because
Yeah.
the old me uh, up until maybe I don't know 6 months to a year ago, anything, man, I'd want to run my mouth, just I know this is the right way or that's wrong or why the fuck did you cut me off in traffic and now it's more like, dude, just let it go. It's not even worth getting that pissed off or whatever. Let it go.
Well, it's called acceptance,
Yeah.
and then it's also called faith.
Hmm.
When they talk about faith, a lot of people, oh no, I have faith right away, because they think it's something that if you thought about it, or you went to church, or you did some rituals, and that you have faith. But faith is like breathing.
Yeah.
You have to renew it every time you take a breath. You have to redo your faith
Exactly.
eh, until it's automatic. And now, when it becomes automatic, that's when the silence comes in, because
Mhm.
you got nothing to say, really, because everybody's going to learn eventually.
Exactly. That's the toughest thing that I had to teach myself is okay, you could talk about take XY conspiracy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you might be down a deep rabbit hole with looking into it and connecting dots, but then you go to work and maybe tell a coworker or a friend, and they just look at you like, dude, what? You're insane. And then maybe 5 years from down the road, they'll become, dude, I remember you telling me about this and I thought you were saying, I am sorry. Hey,
Yeah,
okay. You know what I
yep,
mean?
yep.
I just let you go.
That's
I put the crumbs there. If you wanted to follow them, go ahead.
well, you know what I've been learning is watching my granddaughter uh, grow. You know, we've been with her since she was born, and so we're there. We being my wife and you know grandma and grandpa, and we're there. You know, was such a big part of her life. But watching her grow from a observation standpoint, not a father, you know, but
Right.
being able to watch and appreciate, you know, this little being. It's so it has parallels our lives because she's learning everything at her pace and she's trying everything
Mm-hmm.
again at her pace, and then she knows who loves her and she knows who she can control.
Yeah. She's probably
And
got grandpa wrapped around her little pinky.
oh my goodness, you know what her trick is? When she sees me, she'll go sometimes, not all the time, but after she's gone through everybody else, or if she's tired,
Right.
when she sees me, she go up, and I got to pick her up, and she cuddles.
Uh,
She'll go to sleep on me because I represent that big old soft pillow that will put her to sleep and not have to teach her anything. She's got full control over her sleeping bed.
yeah.
And you talk about a thrill. You know, I've had all my kids, and I had that feeling with them all, except when I had kids, I was a kid,
Mm.
you know, and so yeah, I had that energy and everything else, and I still do. But being a grandpa, there's something so special about it because you're not expected. You know, in fact, everybody treats you like you are fragile, and by the way, you are,
Right.
regardless. You know, of how strong you once were. Now you're not, and she knows it, and everybody knows it, and it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful state to be in. You know, being a grandpa, and I tell people I do cameos, and you know, and people, the young people especially, or the ones that are in the middle aged or getting up there, they treat age like a virus almost.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Or a
like
disability.
yeah, a disability, and I tell them all. I said, no, take advantage, enjoy your old age, because now you've reached the point where the only thing you really need to find is a soft place to sit down. You
Yeah. Ain't that the truth?
know, that's all you need. That's all you need. And when I was in prison, all the old guys, when they left, they would hand their cushions, because you had to walk around with little foam cushions because everything in a prison is hard.
Mm-hmm.
There's no soft cushions anywhere. And you know, these old guys like me, we'd walk around with our cushion, and then when you went to the mess hall or you any place to sit down, you put that cushion down, and so you had your own soft cushion. It's and if you look at your life, every part of your life as a blessing, there's so much more happiness involved, you
Mm-hmm.
know, because I every once in a while you see bitter old people, you know,
Oh,
they're bitter. Life has passed them by or whatever, you know, they're bitter. And there's not much you can do with these people. A lot of times they're sick,
mm-hmm.
which gives them a reason. But again, if you have that good attitude, you know, if you enjoy who you are at all stages of life, then you're really fulfilling your duty, you know, because
Absolutely.
we're only here on the physical plane for a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Considering when you look at eternity, we're just a little blip, little blink. And so you got to enjoy. This is what I found out. You got to enjoy every bit. But you know what cracks me up? I have a habit of talking about this stuff. And then I've had people, well, we did a movie, Cheech and Chong movie. We just shot in the desert a couple of days ago. And in the movie, they're playing back things that I said that I don't remember saying.
That's a great segue, because I love watching the TikTok videos you two make. I mean, you guys you've never lost your step. You know what I mean? You're
No.
both happy-go-lucky, and you can see the genuine joy in life that you both carry with you. And then when you were saying they were repeating back on stuff that you don't remember saying, as a young kid, I couldn't wait for my parents to, leave, maybe go to the bar, so I could sneak and watch a Cheech and Chong movie without getting in trouble. You know what I mean? Like, it was like the coolest thing. How much of that was actually just acting versus that was just all off the cuff type of,
Totally.
comedy?
We had a kind of a rule. Well, we started it in the recording, when we started recording, because the very first record we ever did was called Dave's Not Here.
Mm-hmm.
And Dave's Not Here, it was an accident. Because after we made the record deal, Lou Adler saw us perform, and actually we were doing a showcase for another record company, and Lou Adler kind of sat in on it and saw us, and then put out the word that he wanted to meet us. And so we met Lou. We made a record deal, and part of the record deal was a little tape recorder, because we weren't prepared to make any deal, and all of a sudden we're making a record deal. And so I thought, well, we got to throw in something. And so I said, I need a little tape recorder to rehearse with. And so we took the tape recorder the next day, and we went into the little mix-down room in A&M Records, and we were rehearsing a bit, and the rehearsal became so funny, because part of our technique of being funny was, almost like playing tricks on each other.
Right.
I was in a soul band, and we kept each other laughing. We would play the April Fool's jokes on every chance we got on each other, and there was, because it was a racially mixed band, and so we would always be doing these off the those forbidden racial jokes that are,
right.
What they call it now, woke or whatever,
Yeah.
or some cancel culture, some bullshit like that. But we used to do them. And so when Cheech and I went in to do the rehearse the first bit, the rehearsal became the bit, because Cheech got locked out of the recording booth, and the idea was that he was going to knock on the door, and I'm going to open the door, and then we're going to do the bit. But when he got locked out, it was in a very hot area, kind of like it is today, around 100 degrees, and a little courtyard, so it was really, really hot in that courtyard. And so when he knocked on the door, he was like, "Let me in." And I wasn't sure whether or not the tape recorder was working, because when he knocked, I looked up at the door, and I didn't look at the tape recorder. And so I hesitated. And then he knocked again. And then I looked and I saw it was recording. But I could hear, I've known Cheech for so long, I could hear the annoying knock. It's like, come on, man, it's hot out here. And so instead of opening the door and let him in, I said, "Who is it?" And that became our biggest, most popular record ever made by Cheech and Chong.
Yeah.
Dave's not here. Because I kept saying, who is it? And he'd say, come on, man, it's me. Open the door. And then he'd knock again. I'd say, who is it? Man, come on, quit messing around. It's me. Open the door. And then finally he knocked again. I said, who is it? He goes, it's Dave. Okay, it's Dave. And I said, Dave? And he's, yeah, Dave. And I said, Dave's not here. And to this day, he hates talking about that bit because he can remember how uncomfortable he was outside the door. And me, this idiot inside going, who is it? So that it was that kind of off the cuff, experimental, maybe more not improv, but yes, it was improv. But more than anything, it was torture.
Yeah.
I was torturing the shit out of Cheech. And to this day, he's never really forgiven me for it. And I think that was one of the reasons that we broke up, because he just got tired of being tortured and he wanted to be, like a Don Johnson or something, like he wanted to be accepted as an actor, not just as a comedian.
Right.
I, on the other hand, man, when I found that I could be funny, I ain't changing shit, man.
Right. Yeah, comedy's the best way to go through life. If you can't laugh,
it is.
And there's something wrong with you. You know what I mean?
Now, I was trying to tell people too that they said, how you doing with the lockdown? I'm doing great. I'm doing wonderful. I get to hang out with myself. And being funny, I find every once in a while, I'll find myself laughing hysterically, either at something stupid I did or something stupid I said or something stupid someone else said or did. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, that's the whole point. We were shooting in the desert this last weekend, and I kept looking. I'd go out into the desert because I when I was in prison, the prison was on the desert, and so I found out that there's all sorts of treasures on the desert floor. There's meteorites, there's pumice stone, there's all sorts of crazy, beautiful, preserved things on the desert. And so when we're out shooting, I was walking around with my head down, looking at the desert, and I realized, being old, it's not a good look when you walk that your head's down.
Yeah.
You look like those old people that have osteoporosis, or or you're all bent over and that. But being alone, man, to me is a treat.
Right.
Especially in a nice house like this. And I got a workshop downstairs. I got my power tools. I got my guitars. I got my amp. I got a desk to write on. I got a beautiful lady to bitch at me. I got it all.
You got the American dream.
I got the American dream, the Canadian dream, actually.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my wife teases me because I'm much younger than you. I just turned 45 actually, and she's like, I'm a huge jokester, practical joker. It's try to sneak in if I coming home from work. I know she's getting the shower, so I'll try and sneak in and just stand there. So when she opens the door, she freaks. Thinks, someone's in there to kill her and shit. And she's always like, "What's wrong with it? Why you act like you're 12?" I'm like, "Well, if I act like I'm 12 and think I'm 12, I'll be 12 forever." I don't care. I just enjoy having fun and making, the next dick fart joke, and over silly stuff. You know what I mean? And it's fun.
It's a high.
Yeah.
You do get a high.
Yeah.
Happiness
absolutely.
is a high. Happiness is a high. That's why we got so many junkies, because they like that feeling of high. They like that happiness high. And no matter how miserable you are, you pump someone full of heroin and they're going to be smiling sometime, and they're sleeping, but they're going to be smiling. And that's why you can be on such a natural high without doing anything, just by having a sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah.
Now, I will say, I hold a commercial driver's license, so I can't partake in the mother herb. But back in the day when I did, I loved it. You know what I mean? I mean
Mhm.
it everything's more funny. You think deeper. It's just all around good. And you sit there and you think it's like, how can you just outlaw and make a plant illegal? Like it has no dangerous side effects. Like I never heard of anyone getting high and going home and beating their wife. You know what I mean? It just does not happen.
No,
They might
no.
beat up a bag of potato chips, but
That's true. That's true. No, and the great thing about it, the easier, God gave us a plant, and He made the plant so easy,
mm-hmm,
so easy. There's nothing to do with it. You, water, sun,
yeah,
soil. You got a plant.
yeah,
Yeah, there's bugs that want it, but hey, they got to live too.
right.
And, now, what do you, are you like an Uber driver or something?
No, I drive a commercial vehicle. I haul building supplies like shingles and siding and stuff like that.
Oh, you're a big trucker.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
kind of. But yeah,
You're a mother trucker
I'm
then,
a
huh?
mother trucker.
I like that. Yeah, my dad drove truck. I drove truck.
Nice.
I drove truck in Calgary, Alberta, Canada for freightways,
Okay.
Canadian freightways.
That was
In
back
fact,
before you needed a special license.
well, I got the job because my dad was a very respected distance driver,
Mm,
and
okay.
that's all you need. You talk about, what do you know, my dad, he got me the job, and it was a shit job at first. I had one of my things, I had to pick up the meat truck from the slaughterhouse, and not only pick it up, but sometimes I'd have to help load it,
Oh,
the sides of beef on icy floors. That can be challenging.
yes.
And I was young enough; everything was a challenge, and I did it. I enjoyed truck driving, but I enjoyed music much more.
Mm,
I was like Elvis, I guess. Elvis was a truck driver too. Same thing
yeah.
as us.
Right.
Delivery.
Well,
That's it.
I think you made the right career choice. Just from
Yeah,
a
yeah, I think so.
innocent bystander. You know what I mean?
Well, my dad got fired because he got too much into the drink with the boys
Mm,
at the end, and yeah, he had trouble with alcohol. And one day he pulled in for his sleep, and he had a little nap. Then he pulled out and made the wrong turn.
ooh,
He went back to where he started.
not
And
good.
that's kind of a no-no for a
Mm,
trucker.
big time. Very
And
big mistake.
yeah, so then ended up working for me at the nightclubs,
Oh, nice.
or for my brother actually. But yeah, so everything worked out great.
So, do you and Cheech do this side project where uh people can call up and order you guys to their house?
Yes, we're coming into it's a delivery service.
Yes.
And what it is, if you, it's a lottery, and if you win the lottery, then you have Cheech and Chong come to your house with your order.
That's crazy.
And yeah, it is. It is. We haven't officially. I think that they're going to announce it on 420.
Okay.
I wonder why. I can't understand why 420, but
Yeah, I don't understand the significance of that date.
there must be a reason.
Something.
I guess. I don't know. Yeah. So we got that going. Yeah, we got a lot of things going now.
Now, is that just strictly in California, or is that anywhere in the United States?
I think it's going to be anywhere, where you can do it.
Okay.
There's still a lot of
Yeah.
states that But New Mexico just went legal, so we're chipping away. We're getting them
Yeah,
all.
I'm hoping Pennsylvania will finally get on the bandwagon, but
That's the
I don't
home
know.
of the DEA.
Yeah, it's so the state is so old school in its thinking. You know what I mean? Because of now,
In its hierarchy.
yes.
You know,
I mean, we just
in its
recently in the
hierarchy.
last, I don't know, 5-6 years, were able to buy beer at a gas station or a
At a
grocery
gas
store.
station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before you had to go to a specific store, called the
Yeah.
beer distributor and get beer.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
tell people that lived outside of Pennsylvania, and they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah." It's
Well, that's because profit,
mhm,
and that was the whole thing. At one time, the churches ran everything.
mhm.
The churches ran Europe. They ran everything, like the Catholic Church, where they have the Vatican
Yep.
and they have their own country,
Yeah.
But we're, thanks to the cell phone and we're getting more intelligent about it all.
Hmm. I still think now this is just my little conspiracy thing, but I think the whole Roman Catholic Church is what the Roman Empire used to be. You know what I mean?
It's a cult.
Yeah, and
No, it's a cult,
it's
pure and simple. And even though we have a president that is part of that cult, thank God most people don't really take religion serious
right.
anymore. Even the Roman Catholics or the Jews or all of them. You got the hardcore that are, like the Jews banging their head against the wall,
Mhm.
in the Catholics. I always ask the Catholic. There's a couple of things to ask Catholics. Number one is, why are so many priests pedophiles?
Yeah,
That was one. Number two is, what is the origin of an altar boy?
exactly.
Where did Jesus say, and you must have an altar boy dressed similar to the priest, walking behind the priest, carrying his stuff, and God knows what else. And why the robes, and why the Pope?
Yeah.
I don't remember Jesus saying there must be a Pope.
No.
And not only that, and my last and final always observation was that Jesus was a Jew.
Mhm.
He was never a Christian, and he never came back. They
Right.
always thought he'd come back in 3 days, but no. There was some sightings, but it wasn't him.
Right.
And he was never going to come back because look how they treated him when he was here.
Yeah.
So I've got this. Yeah, I've got my own thing. Again, I have to be very careful where I talk about it, but
Well,
because they're
you have free speech on here. You can talk very openly, because
for sure.
I'm kind of the same way. I was raised Catholic, then went into Christianity for a while, and then a few years ago I just started discovering, just being spirituality. You know what I mean? And
Well, the third eye,
yeah,
like you said,
and
you
then I
go to
started
Tibet.
questioning, is the Jesus story even really real? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you start looking at all the religions and how much they tie together, and they're all created by man from
By man.
by a secondhand
By
account.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
if you even look in the Bible, it says the kingdom of heaven is within yourself. So
Absolutely.
you know what I mean?
I like the beginning of the Bible. In the beginning was the Word.
Yeah.
And the Word was God. And that's all. That's it. That's
Mhm.
it. In the beginning, because there was no beginning.
Right.
The beginning they're talking about is when man became conscious of God.
Yes.
That's the beginning. And it's not the God that the writers took and
No.
and glamorized and made. No, in the Bible again it said that we were made in His image, but what we do, or what some people do, they make it in their image.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like they had Jesus, a white guy,
Yeah, how'd
with
that
blue
work?
eyes,
Yeah.
and a lamb, and a little child next to him. You know, I understand what that means, what it
Mm-hmm.
depicts, but I also realize that that type of Christianity was what fueled the Nazis,
Mm.
the master race.
Yep.
That's what they wanted. They wanted that blue-eyed Caucasian,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody else is subservient, you know. But we saw how that turned out, and yeah, we're clipping along. Yeah, I've been realizing this for a while now, but I never really expressed it. But now I can, you know, when you get a certain age, you got freedom. You got a license to speak your mind.
Yep. Absolutely.
Because what's the worst thing going to happen to you?
Not much.
No. What are they going to put me in jail? No.
Yeah.
They tried that.
Which
They
is
couldn't
bogus.
they couldn't wait to get me out of jail. I had the best time. And when I got out, I even had a better time. It was because I always knew, but I wasn't sure until I went to jail. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like I always knew the truth, but I wasn't really sure. I mean, I was, but again, the fact that I tried to stay out of jail was, I didn't embrace it until they said, you're going to jail. And then when they said that, then I embraced it. I said, okay, let's make the best. I'm going to have fun. That's
Right.
what I said to myself. Before that, though, I was following the norm,
Mm-hmm.
what everybody else was doing. But I knew better. I was turned on to The Third Eye. There's a book called The Third Eye by T. Lobsang Rampa.
Mm.
If you ever get a chance, you should read it because it'll give you an insight. T. Lobsang Rampa was an Englishman.
Okay.
But he was a reincarnated Tibetan, and he got reincarnated as an Englishman, and which was kind of cool because then he wrote The Third Eye in English.
Nice.
And being reincarnated the way he was, he could go back and all the rituals and everything. He explained in The Third Eye. He explains the order of heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have, I don't know if you know this, but we have overselves, they call it. And the overself, we're attached to the overself with a silver cord.
Okay.
And the silver cord is just energy, but it's spiritual energy. And so we all have an overself. And that's who gives us directions. That's who gives us everything. Now you can call them angels, but definitely what T. Lobsang Rampa calls them is the overself. And when you die, that cord goes boom right to the overself. That's where you go. And now you're still an individual, but you're with in heaven, and you're getting ready to your next assignment. And that's how it goes. And you're always that overself. You're always connected. You always have been, and you always will be. And that was part of the lesson, because it. This is what first of all, I started asking for praying for wisdom. And when I did that, I had all sorts of epiphanies come, kind of in a row, but not one after another.
Right.
And that one of the epiphanies was the marijuana, because I started doing stand-up alone,
Mm-hmm.
talking about marijuana. And I realized that with the help of my overself, because he's really my prompter, you know, he's telling me what to say, when to say it, what not to say, what to do in jail. You know, there's all sorts of orders I got, and who to help, and how to enjoy, how to be at peace, because that was the only thing that Jesus left his disciples. He didn't leave anything except, my peace I give unto you.
Right.
And it's that peace that enables us to observe and be beholders, and be beholders of this phenomenal life that we're living. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better life in spite of all the hardships and all that. Because, like, watching the Ukraine, and now they're bombing the rail stations, and it's horrible now. But if you look at the big picture, like I say, we're eternal beings, and so nobody disappeared in the bombings.
Right.
They just transitioned, and chances are a lot of them will be back before we know it, in other bodies, other forms. And learning, knowing this, then you get a sense of compassion for all. You know, believe it or not, I have compassion for Putin. And the reason is that he is so sick. He has no idea what he's doing. You know, obviously he does it because he's doing it so poorly.
Right.
You know, and what he's really doing is destroying his order. He's destroying himself. You know, that's a kiss of death. He didn't have to invade the Ukraine. You know, had he had listened to his advisors, he could have taken Ukraine. He could have bought it.
Right.
You know, Russia is rich enough. He could have bought the port, because all he's looking for is a place to dock his war boats. But see, he's such an egomaniac. He feels he has to own everything. Well, you don't own anything.
Right.
You lease, you rent, you do anything but that. And the Ukrainians, on the other hand, they got a what do you call it, a shoot. So easy, you know, because you're fighting an army that's not an army. It's a bunch of kids or young guys that were given a uniform and told to drive the tanks in there and destroy some buildings.
Right.
Or destroy destroy everything you can. But in the meantime, while they're doing that, they're being destroyed, because you can't have one action without the reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the end, we're going to see a democratic Russia with what do you call it, elections. And they're going to impact every communist country in the UK anyway. I mean, in the European Union, they will embrace democracy. The only ones that haven't or won't is China.
Mm-hmm.
But China is not warlike at all, and China will evolve into a democratic society, because they have a good leader, and they're not warlike in any way, although they have the capabilities. But like in any fight, you never want to be the initiator, because because that's karma. You will start first, you will end first. You know, I mean, that's it. As long as you're in a defensive posture, you're in the right state of mind. But the minute you start attacking, other than, for gain, for personal gain, then you're at odds. If you can think about it, we're eternal beings. What do we need? A yacht? Do we need a yacht or a big house? It's nice to have for a minute,
Right.
for a short while. But I haven't met one billionaire that is really happy with his life if he owns more than one house.
Mm-mm.
Because you got a lot of worries, you got a lot of trouble, you got a lot of stuff on your mind. And then, this is what I found out from a friend of mine who hung with the the wives of the Russian oligarchs. They're all going crazy because none of their credit cards work.
Oh shit.
And their only reason they're with these guys is because of the wealth.
Yeah.
You take away that wealth and they're not that attractive.
Mm-mm. Not at all.
So it's that's the kind of joyful trip that I'm going on now, because it's getting time. I think what's going to happen to the Ukraine depends on how much the rest of the world will allow Russia to go apeshit like they're going.
Mhm.
Like they're throwing those rockets. Those rockets are so deadly, man. They just, they don't distinguish, anybody. They're out there to destroy and to kill. And it's so stupid, man, because for what is the end game for Russia? There's no
None.
end game, because they're not going to conquer the Ukraine. Even if we don't give them any help, they would never conquer the Ukraine. But now that we're giving them help, and we always were. I know that it sounds very hypocritical, but I know that Biden has enough experience in prison, in the office of the presidency, to know who to listen to and how to listen and what to do. And that's why I'm very at peace with the Roman Catholic Biden.
The only thing that kind of scares me with that, you bring up, he's a Catholic. The last Catholic president we had was Kennedy.
Yeah.
And in the conspiracy circles and in this community, there is that, I wouldn't say it's regularly talked about, but it has been brought up. You know what I mean? Like, what if they do to him what they did to Kennedy because he was a Catholic? You know what I mean? And that goes down the whole dark order of like the secret societies and the Protestants, and they're the ones that really control the global outreach of everything. But that's
Well,
that's
yeah.
another topic for another day. But and like you said, at the end of the day, Russia's not going to. You're leasing what you're going after. You know what I mean? We're eternal beings.
Kennedy, he double crossed the gangsters.
Right.
That's what he did. And when he gave up Cuba, the gangsters had big plans for casinos, which would have been so much better than what happened to them.
Right.
The casino life would have been so much better, but the Puritans, they think they equate the casinos with Al Capone and the gangsters and that. Yeah. But I'll tell you right now, organized gangsters can be a lot better than the unorganized police in certain areas. Even the gangsters in New York, there were boroughs in New York City that there's no crime,
right,
no crime whatsoever. Why? Because the gangsters ruled.
Mm-hmm.
And so you give up a bit, but I think I don't think I don't worry about Biden being taken out, because look who's standing next there. You know,
Right.
It was one of the reasons why the Dems wanted to elect the black women, you know, because there's nothing stronger in America than a black woman,
Right.
you know, because she's been vilified and she's come out on top, and that's the way it'll always be. No, I concentrate. I can see Putin being taken out by the oligarchs, but it'll be too late. It's already too late. I've got friends. I got a friend, a girlfriend. She's a girl. She's not a girlfriend, but she's a lady, and she sells jewelry. And she was hanging with all the rich Russian oligarch wives, and they're in a dizzy now because none of their credit cards are working.
Yeah.
And you take shopping off the activities list with the oligarchs, and you got some really pissed off, angry women.
Yeah.
Really pissed off. Because what else are you going to do? You know,
Yeah.
there's nothing to do in Russia. And so they're in England, and if their credit cards don't work, well, pretty soon they'll be kicked out of England because they let them in because they're spending money like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of things that are going on, but they're going on so naturally, like this pandemic, because it didn't hit me hard because I do, I listen to the science, you know. But if your head's in the right place, then no matter where you are, you're going to thrive,
Yes.
you know.
Now I want to kind of take it back to your what are your thoughts on reincarnation?
Well, it's inevitable. You take science will tell you that every drop of water that was here in the beginning of creation is still here. And our bodies are 90% water. But it's not our bodies that get reincarnated, it's our souls.
Right.
Because our souls we've always been here. There's never been a time when we weren't here in one form or another. And so reincarnation, it depends on what tribe, like if you're with the Tibetans, they've got it down to, they can take the Dalai Lama every time the Dalai Lama is born again. They find him and they put him in the Dalai Lama spot because he's more of a figurehead than anything else. But they teach him. He learns. He's got eons of sympathy. But if you look at the Tibetans themselves, the harshest conditions, they take the harshest conditions, and they created a society that was more evolved spiritually than any other tribe on earth, as far as I can see. Now, I imagine there are some, but I've never had the privilege of reading about them, or like I have with the Tibetans, so reincarnation is inevitable. It's like I got a kumquat tree here, and every spring without fail, there's so much fruit that it attracts the birds, the squirrels. They're all there. And it's been going on while I've had the house 30 odd years. Never fails. Every spring, regardless of what's going on in the world, that sucker produces more food.
Yes.
And it's one tree. Now you take that, every seed that drops off that tree is full of life. And think about this. This is a mind-boggling. For the zillions of seeds that came off that, each seed is an individual tree. It's an individual entity. And regardless if it gets planted and grows into another tree, or if it becomes food or waste or whatever, it goes back into the soil and goes back into the ocean. It goes back to become material.
Mm-hmm.
And then the life of the tree is spiritual.
Yes.
The life of the tree, it is eternal. And that's what it's always been here. Yes. In one form or another. And when I say one form or another, that means that we were once ocean. We lived in the ocean. We couldn't breathe on the air. And then a fish evolved to the point where it walked out of the ocean. And then a few million years went by. Next thing you know, we got other creatures coming out of the ocean, like the apes, the monkeys, the tigers, everything came out of the ocean. Whales once had wings and flew. So this is an eternal universe, and the only constant in the universe is change.
Very well said. What are your thoughts on using psilocybin or ayahuasca or DMT to open your third eye?
Yeah, if you need it, do it. If that's where you're at. Again, see, now we're talking about individual entities, which we are. And so everybody has a duty to themselves to find out where they're at. No one else can do it for you.
Right.
You got to do it yourself. And if you feel that you need that, then go for it. Nothing can stop you. But on the other hand, if you feel that it might trigger something, negative, then don't do it.
Right.
Yeah, there's no need to. I mean, that's how I got on my path. I was always on the path. But when I took acid, wow, it just reaffirmed. I'm going to disappear for a minute. I got to open the door for the dog. He's my partner.
Gotcha. I have two dogs myself. I love dogs.
Yeah, they're the best.
I'm a big fan of mushrooms. I hope to be in a position one day where I can partake in the psilocybin, but I do go out and forage for gourmet mushrooms like lion's mane, chicken of the woods, morels, and such. And
well, I don't know if you know about the fungi. That's right. That keeps everything in communication.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's how they converse and talk.
I'm not sponsored by this documentary, but I always recommend it to people. If you have Netflix, watch The Fantastic Fungi. It is just
I've seen it.
It's mind blowing.
Many times.
Packed full of so much good information.
That's another thing. I'm having so much fun watching all these documentaries and these travel shows and shows like the fungi. Yeah, I had another. My landlord from he was from Italy originally. When I first started making the records with Cheech, Shelby and I, we rented his place, and he was a great grower. He could grow anything. That's what he did in Italy. He had a farm and crops and everything. And it was one of his joys. And later on in his life, he left us, but was going after the expensive mushroom. What do they call that? Where you go to the store, the restaurant, and they want to sell it to you. It's the most expensive.
Yeah, I'm not sure the name of it. I know what you're referring to, because and there's different ones all over the world. Like even
Yeah,
here. You know what I mean? I could pick
yeah,
morels and sell them for $200,
yeah,
an ounce to someone in
yeah,
New York City, and it's
yeah.
crazy.
Because they have that power. They have
Hmm.
the DNA and everything inside. Is everything.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Yeah, I love mushrooms too. Right now, I'm on a fast, the Ramadan.
Hmm.
My daughter-in-law, she's Muslim and she's fasting. And I realized, that fasting is very Christian and very Jewish. Every religion
Every
calls
religion.
for it.
Yep.
They call for it, and so I started fasting with her, and I love it. I love it.
Now, are you allowed to smoke while you fast?
Oh yeah, I'm
Okay.
allowed to do anything. I make my own rules. I don't
And there you
smoke
go.
as I actually I do my strips.
Mm,
I had to quit smoking because I was getting a cough.
gotcha.
And the one thing you don't want around the pandemic, people, is a
Yeah.
cough.
I
You
remember
start
walking into a
coughing.
store and I would swallow my spit wrong, and all of a sudden I'd be like choking. I'm like, I can't cough. They're, people are going to think I'm sick. You know what I mean? I'd sit there
Yeah,
and do my best to hold it. And I'd get out to the car and just cough my head off, thinking I'm drowning in my own spit.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It took me a while to realize that. But yeah, much as I love smoking and love rolling joints, I got to the point where it was just I had a cough all the time, and so now I don't have the cough, and I just do my CBD and I do my strips, my
Mm,
THC strips.
nice.
Yeah, my wife, she's funny. I love her so much. She's automatic thing from a wife. Oh, don't get so stoned. You just sit there and don't say anything. We're going out to eat with somebody. Oh, don't get too stoned. And, oh, please don't get too stoned. That was a mantra for her, like a wife. And I take the strip in front of her. Okay,
Hey,
okay, I won't get too stoned.
at least you didn't have to chase it around the house and wait for it to shit it back out.
Yeah, like old. What was that dog? My dog, man. He ate my stash. Oh, that's some funny shit,
that
man.
that anytime I ever watch that, or even still, like I'll have a couple beers on a Friday or Saturday night, pop on YouTube and look through some of the old, old Cheech and Chong, and I come across tears in my eyes, just tears of laughter.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's just like it's
yeah.
classic.
Classic. Yeah, it's so classic.
And the
Yeah,
chemistry
yeah.
you guys had together. I mean, it's just it's beautiful. You don't see that often. You know what I mean? I mean, you guys
No,
just fed off each other so naturally.
yeah, we did. Well, we were in an improv group together. And in fact, it's kind of a sad day, but one of my first partner passed away today.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Dave,
I'm sorry for your loss.
Dave Graham. He was my first partner. In fact, he's the Dave, and Dave's not here
Okay.
because when I kept Cheech outside, and I said, "Who is?" I said, "Who is it?" And he come up with Dave
Hmm.
because I know it was the first name he could think of in the head. It's Dave. Dave Graham. He was my first partner.
Nice.
What happened? He was a doorman, and I was working the lights in my own nightclub, and it was a titty bar. And I noticed, well, I'd been away with Motown, and then I came back, and now my brother had put these clubs together. I put the clubs together, but he was running them, and there was a titty bar, and it was doing really well. It had a lot of biker clientele, and and I was working the lights, but I noticed that when the girls would come into work, they looked gorgeous with their street clothes.
Hmm.
But when they put on all the stripper garb, then they became kind of slutty and kind of,
Yeah.
uh, and I'd been watching improv groups, and so I thought, well, man, this would make a perfect improv play, you know, with the girls in their street clothes and doing bits, and then ending up naked. You know, at the end of the show, they would end up, you know, showing some flesh. And the guys, what we had there, there was a tap dancer named Taps Harris, and a girl singer named Jeannie, and in a little 3-piece band. And so what I did, I hid the band behind a curtain, and I had the girls come in their street clothes, and then I had Taps and the MC come over to what was supposed to be their house after the show, and Taps drops in, and the girls say, "Why do they call you Taps?" He's, "Well, I'm a tap dancer," and so they put on the music. The band started playing music, and Taps does his show, and he was so good. It was the first time that that crowd, ever watched it. It even knew that he danced.
Oh, wow.
And so the applause was deafening, and he had to do an encore. And that night he quit. He walked out. He never came back.
That sucks.
Because he had evolved to being an MC in a girly show. He didn't have to dance.
Right.
But when he had to dance, oh man, that's so much energy. And so he quit. And so I said to my partner, Dave, the one that died today, I said, "Dave, I need an MC." And he says, "Well, I'll do it if you do it." And I said, "Oh, okay." And so that's how I got on stage with Dave.
Nice.
And then we started small and we grew. And then, you know, as the months go by, we got really good and the bits got really tight and funny. And we were on our way. And then, but the revenue dropped because we changed the crowd from a 20 drunk businessmen with nothing but money to 300 theater goers that would count their change and sip on a wine all night. And so my brother said, "You know, we're losing money," and so we had to quit. But before we stopped, we had to place a straight man, Rick Lanz, because his wife thought he was doing real theater. And then the paper put a shot of Rick with the girls on either side with their titties in his face. And so he had to quit. And so this other customer that used to come to the club, he said, "Oh, I know, it was a perfect guy for the show. He's a little funny guy. He works for me." So he took me and I met Cheech. And he was Richard at the time. And so Richard came on board and he was like understudy for Dave and I. And then we got fired. The whole troupe had to quit because the club was losing money. And so everybody else went back to their former job except Cheech and I. And in fact, he was still Richard at the time. And so we put a band together and we entered the Battle of the Bands. Now, I think we won, but we never played one note of music. We just did comedy, Cheech and I. And so that was the beginning of the Cheech and Chong phenomenon.
Yeah, I think it's more of an empire now.
It's getting there.
Yeah.
It's getting there.
Did you ever think that your name would still resonate in 2022, like it did back then? Yeah, I mean, you guys are still you go up to anybody, Cheech and Chong. "Oh man, yes, I love them. They're so funny."
Oh yeah.
And, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And it's just, did you ever picture it being as big as
the longevity? Well, you know, you don't really go ahead that far.
No.
You know, I'm almost 84. And I remember in school, we did an essay where we talked to when we're 60, what we were doing when we're 60. But 80, I never even dreamed, even thought about it. But now that I'm here, see, Cheech and I broke up. We split around 84, I believe. 80, no, actually we split up in 81.
Hmm.
It took a long time, but yeah, it was 81 that Cheech went with Don Johnson, you know, and he did Tin Cup. Well,
Right.
first of all, he did Born in East LA
Mm-hmm.
without me. And that was really we just did a movie now. We brought that up because, you know, a lot of people wanted to know why Cheech and Chong didn't, why we broke up, you know. And it was inevitable. We had done everything that we wanted to do
Right.
with Cheech and Chong. And now it was getting to the point where well, we did records, we did movies, television, we did it all. I turned down television. They wanted us to do a series and I turned it down. And to this day, I'm really glad we did, you know, because television would have, well, Freddie Prinze, look at Freddie Prinze,
Yeah.
if you can remember who he was, you know, it ate him up. It eats everybody up, you know, all of them, you know, Tim the Tool Man,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I mean, you get a lot of money, but then you know, it's not worth it to me anyway.
No.
So I turned down the television thing and we did movies. And wow. And so I forgot the point, what I was heading for. Remember what barn this old rented horse was headed for?
I was asked if you ever thought that back then
Oh, so
it would be as big as it is today.
no, to be honest, no. I couldn't even see it legal.
Right.
I never envisioned it legal. I only envisioned the fact that my heroes either smoked it or wouldn't smoke it because they're heroin addicts.
Mm.
So either way, I thought, well, I can do this. I can do this smoke. I can do this drug and not worry about it. Because I knew bodybuilders the only thing they would do would be smoke up.
Right.
Did I ever think? No. But inside me, I knew I was on the right path. Even during this pandemic, you know, my wife, uh, she's really my partner, my boss too. Uh, you know, she right away, as soon as the pandemic hit, she got me vaccinated as soon as it could be, and then she had me masked and herself. You know, we're very aware of how germs could take you out. Um, but no, you know, I never think, I try not to think too far ahead because I'm having too much fun in the present. You know what I'm saying?
And that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Now, I've kept you a little over an hour. If you still want to go, we can. If not, we can wrap up. I only requested an hour. But John Paul said he'll go as long as he feels comfortable, going. So
Well,
it's
that's
completely up
nice
to
of
you.
JP. Yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. We'll go a little longer.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We, well, that's the whole point of our existence. You know, we're trained through the old ways of so much time for this, so much time for that.
Right.
You know, we got to do this, got to do that. But the truth is, it's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I've had people thinking that fasting is a chore, a burden. You know, when you tell people, you know, you're fasting or you're not eating, it's like, oh, I couldn't do that. Oh, why would you? You know, like Cheech, he says his worst nightmare is that he wakes up and finds out that he's a vegan. Well, if you don't watch out, you're going to get these ailments that the doctor said, well, you should have been a vegan.
Yeah. Now,
You know?
this may be a dumb question, but you're fasting, yet you
Yeah.
still use CBD and THC. How
Oh,
hard
yeah.
is it now? And I did back in the day, before I had the job that I have now, I did smoke a lot of marijuana. And I did realize that you can control your cravings. The feeling of hunger is controllable. And
Yeah.
is it hard to push through getting that feeling of hunger when you have THC in your body when you're trying to fast?
Well, yeah, but the good thing about the Muslim fast is that it only goes to sundown.
Right.
And being a musician, there was a lot of times in my life where I never woke up until almost sundown. And my life never really started till sundown.
Right.
That was my morning.
Yeah.
And so I don't have any problem with fasting at all.
Oh,
I
that's
never
good.
have. I never have. Because it's the same thing. Well, like working out,
Hmm.
in a gym. I mean, if you look at what you have to do, if you look at it like you got to lift a lot of weights and you got to sweat and you got to torture your body for an hour or so. If you look at it that way, you probably would never do it. But if you look at the results, if you look at, well, if I pump this iron, I'm going to look a lot better in clothes than I do now.
Right.
And the whole idea, our whole purpose on Earth, by the way, is to populate the planet. That's why we were given penises and vaginas, and that urge that sometimes is uncontrollable.
Hmm.
I come up with this theory about the sex crimes and the sex, the Harvey Weinsteins and the Bill Cosbys and the Woody Allens. It's such a shame that they would lose their career over what I call a chemical imbalance.
Mm.
They obviously have too much testosterone in their system, because it's a testosterone that creates that urge, that hunger,
Hmm.
that sexual hunger. And what I see, I mean, they're, committing sexual crimes is very evil, and it's harmful, and that's why it's a taboo. Uh, but I think what they should do is study these guys, check out their testosterone level, check while you can. I mean, here, do a study. Why do they act the way they do?
Right.
Find out, and and if they find out, then they can change their behavior, or their
Yeah.
mindset. Because I knew Bill, I knew him. I couldn't get close to him. He was too successful when I met him. But we had because he grew up in the ghetto, and I know the ghetto really well. I've lived in it, and so we had that togetherness. And I never met Woody Allen, but I know that he is an extremely talented writer, movie maker, and same as Weinstein. I met Weinstein, and, and he was like a very successful movie maker, businessman. But they all had the same thing in common: they couldn't control themselves.
Right.
And I understand how the need for sex will turn you into a liar.
Mm.
I'm
Big time.
talking every man.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry, baby. I'll just put it in a little ways.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry, baby. You got nothing to worry about, baby. And listen, if you're pregnant, I'll take care of you. But the human body produces these drugs, and that's basically what pot pot does. Pot activates the chemicals that are in your body already, and it puts them to work. Your
Hmm.
imagination gets fired up
Yep.
like crazy. Your ability to see humor, your ability to play music, your ability to do sports,
Hmm.
to and I think what it's the ability of being in the present, in the present. Because I'm a dreamer. I don't know about you, but I when I was in school, a lot of times I'd just be daydreaming like crazy, or I'd read a book and then I'd go off on whatever book, the literature. It was
Yeah.
always literature, and I think that's why I got so into the Christian Sunday school church. I love the stories. I love those stories, the Jesus stories,
Mm-hmm.
And oh man, and I went to Bible camp, and it changed my life because Bible camp turned me on to the stage,
Yeah.
Because I got singled out at the camp. I was 8 years old. My brother was 8, 9, 10, 11. He was 11 when I was 12. So he was with the older kids. I'm with the younger group. I'm with the younger tent. And so all we did all day was go from one sitting in a beautiful meadow, and hearing all these beautiful stories being read to me by this lady. And then at night we would be entertained by putting on little skits and shows, or sitting around the bonfire, singing or watching the guy play guitar and sing. It was, to me, it changed my life drastically, because not only went on stage and like we were doing little skits, and that stayed with me to this day. I was hearing stories, beautiful stories about healing and love and all the good stuff, all the nice stuff, and it stayed with me. And so at the end of the camp, they're giving out awards. Okay, here's an award for the best girl in camp. And in the meantime, I'm leaning over, getting some food, during the boarding house reach. No shirt on, just shorts, brown as a berry. And the guy goes, "Well, keep standing, Tommy, because you won the best kid award,
Oh wow.
the nicest kid award." And well, when you're singled out like that at that age, you realize that you are special.
Mm.
I realized it. See, I didn't have to be anybody else. I just would be me, And I learned how to play guitar, and I could play a little accordion, but I didn't do it for me. I did it either to entertain or for the dancers, because that's how I learned how to play guitar with a fiddle player. We would play house parties,
Mm.
Either my house or their house, and everybody would dance and drink and yahoo, and we're playing that old-fashioned fiddle music, and I learned how to comp the guitar, and I was playing like an adult when I was 8 years old. There's no in between. There's no kids guitar.
Right.
You go right to playing those tunes. And then I learned how to dance, and I learned how to. Then we start having a band playing for dances. That's the world that I love, and that's the world that to me will always be. Now, the good news is that when I started smoking weed, it all fit.
Mm.
It helped me dance better. It helped me play better. It helped me love better. It helped me do everything better. And so, of course, here we are,
Yeah.
surrounded by my product.
Did did any of that did any of that pass on down to your kids? The love of entertaining or anything like that?
Yeah, in various degrees. Well, first of all, the oldest daughter, Chong, she became a world famous actress. I mean, she was in, with Arnold Schwarzenegger's Commando.
Mm.
She was in Quest for Fire, this other award-winning film. She was all these great movies. She's acting now, just bit parts, but she's
Right.
still acting. Precious, my daughter with Shelby, she she's been in movies, she's been in plays, she does stand-up comedy now. She's goes around Canada doing stand-up comedy. Paris, my son, he's my manager, but he can play bass, plays the hell out of a bass. And we had a band for a while called Chong and the Family Stoned.
Oh, nice.
And my other son, Jobran, he's got a degree from Boulder University, a musical degree, percussion.
Mm.
He could get a job in a symphony orchestra as a percussionist.
Nice.
He's in he's in Canada, and he teaches privately. And every all the kids. Now I got grandkids coming up, and I know they're singing and dancers. They're performers.
That's awesome.
So, oh yeah, we're going to do it all.
So what's in the works for you in the future? We'll end on that and let you at least promote your product and let everybody know what Tommy's got going on in the future with yourself and with Cheech.
Well, the future is we got a documentary, drama documentary coming out. We shot it end of it last week. I'm selling the hell out of these CBD products. I mean, they're selling so good. Cheech has got a line of CBD
nice.
Stuff. We are about to go public with the Cheech and Chong brand, probably sometime in June. I don't know when they'll do it, but our quest is to sell more weed than anybody else. And,
so that means you got to beat out Snoop Dogg and Willie Nelson.
Oh, easy, no problem.
Easy.
No problem.
Good. That's a good attitude to have.
Oh yeah, because it's Cheech and Chong. There's two of us.
Exactly.
And what are we known for?
Smoking weed.
What's Snoop Dogg known for? Rap.
Yep.
What's Willie known for? Singing cowboy songs, country songs. Cheech and Chong, weed.
Yep.
So there's not even a bit of it problems. I know Willie and Snoop. I love them both. We get along really good.
Now, when you launch your product and what have you, is it going to be global? Is it going to be a global launch or just available in the United States or the states that are legal?
Well, I think I think by the time we announce it, it should be legal. It should be available in America anyway, everywhere. And once they reschedule it, that's all they got to do. They're dicking around. They're trying to find some ways to hang on to this product, and you can't.
Mm-mm.
There's no way you can do it. Everybody tried. That's why they made it illegal. It was the only way they could hang on to it, because it was so popular. And so they made it illegal, and we saw the results of that. No, it's going to be worldwide. We're already in Germany and Netherlands and a few other places. Not in Australia yet. Australia is still anti-pot.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but once we go legal around the world, because one of the reasons it was illegal, why they kept it illegal, is because the government of the United States would pay countries to eradicate their crops. And there was a place in the islands, in the Micronesian islands, it's called Palau. And Palau was before they've always been into weed, that their customs, they've always had marijuana. And so when it got made, legal enough where you could grow grow enough. No, what happens when the government cracked down on everybody growing weed was paying them. And so the Palauan government, they said, okay. And so the government of the United States would pay the Palauans $1 million to eradicate their crop. And so the Palauans did that. But then they grew another crop. They grew 2 crops. And so one for the $1 million for the estates burned up. It's almost symbolic.
Right.
And then another crop for the users. And
Nice.
imagine they kept a few buds of the first crop. They didn't
Oh.
burn all of it. In fact, they might have just burned the stalks.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking now and I just thought about it now. They probably just picked all the stalks and then set fire to the field.
Yep.
That's a movie bit. That's a movie bit. I'll do that. Okay, my friend.
Yes, thank you for your time. It was an honor and a huge privilege. And as a young fan growing up, I'd never thought I would be sitting here today, talking with one of my childhood heroes. You know what I mean? Yeah, one half of them. You know what I mean? With Chong, and gotta speak some wisdom and hear some wisdom from Tommy himself. So
Thank you.
This was a blessing.
You can say that you're not talking to him anymore because he's leaving.
Okay. Well, I will let you get going and enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you for your time, my friend.
Hey, pleasure was all mine.
All right.
Really.
Thanks, Tommy.
Okay, let me see. How do I get out of here? Oh.